everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Client Service Conversations. My name is Barry Sutherland with Henderson Engineers, and I'm joined as always by Miss Donna Corlew from C-Connect. And today we are joined by our good friend through S&PS, Steve Osborn with CE Solutions. Steve is the president and the principal of CE Solutions, and just as I said, a great friend of ours, and we're excited to have him on here to share a little bit about what client service means in his world. So, Steve, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you very much, Donna and Barry, for having me, and much appreciate the opportunity to kind of share our story.
So Steve, tell us, give us a little bit of background about your firm, CE Solutions, and your journey to your current position.
Sure. So I graduated from Purdue University back in 1978 with a bachelor's in civil engineering with an emphasis in structural engineering, and then I minored in geotechnical engineering and construction. So I worked for three large multidisciplined civil engineering firms prior to starting CE Solutions about 22 years ago. And you might wonder what CE stands for in CE Solutions. So CE stands for civil engineering. And I was inspired at a young age, freshman at Purdue, by the late, great Professor John Hayes, who told us in clear terms that, you know, your degree's in civil engineering, you were a civil engineer first, and then you are whatever else you are, a structural engineer, an environmental engineer, geotechnical engineer, so on. And he always talked about the grand old profession of civil engineering. And he just really, really inspired me. He encouraged us to get involved as civil engineers. He said it's a people-serving profession, and get involved in the process, and then get involved in the profession. And that just stuck with me. And so when I started CE Solutions 22 years ago, I wanted to put that in our name so I'd have an opportunity like today to kind of share what that means. And so I launched CE Solutions back in 1998 at the S&PS Build Business Conference in Hilton Head. I have, over the years, built CE Solutions on a firm foundation, strong marketing and business development principles that I've learned through the S&PS organization.
Okay, so how long has client service been a focus of CE Solutions? And as a firm principal, how did your belief in client service shape your efforts, and were your staff on board immediately?
Yeah, that's a pretty easy one for me. That's kind of my nature in general. I'm very much an extroverted individual. I love being around people. I love the interaction, and I'm very much a servant leader of sorts. And I believe in giving back to the profession and to the community that has given me so much over the years. And I want to leave this place a better place than when I arrived. And so that's always been my goal and my plan. And so when I started CE Solutions, we're very much focused on not only high-level client service, but also servant leadership. That's just kind of in my DNA. So when I started CE Solutions, I started it with basically four core foundational principles that have defined our culture over the years: strong relationships, mutual respect, integrity, and ethical practice. They're very simple, and they are very strong messages, and they are things that our business has been built on those core foundational principles. It's embedded in our hiring process, it's embedded in our service delivery process, and everything that we do. It's been really an amazing thing to watch as we've been able to build our firm and watch our employees really take excellent care of our clients.
So Steve, give us, you talk about how it's developed over time. Give us a little peek behind the curtain and tell us what does client service look like today at CE Solutions, and then, kind of how do you guys evaluate how well you're doing at it, and how do you refine your efforts in client service?
Sure, it's very much personalized service. I stress communication always in our firm, and how important that is. I explain that challenges and misunderstandings and claims on projects, more often than not, are traced back to poor communication. Yeah, rarely, occasionally there's the case where there's just an engineering mistake, and that happens sometimes. That's rare, that's unfortunate, and hopefully nobody gets hurt in the process. But more often than not, it's poor communication. So this personalized service, proactive communication, responsiveness, thoroughness, attention to detail, good risk management, techniques. We follow the PSMJ project management principles in delivering our service. And then in the end, not necessarily at the end, I shouldn't say that. Throughout the course of a project, we implement a client satisfaction survey process. And it's a little different than maybe you might first think. It's, again, personalized. So it's not just an email form, where a client responds to it privately. This is one that's either conducted in person, over the phone, or through a visual, a Zoom tool of sorts. And we prefer either in person or virtual meeting, because then we can see the client's body language. We have a series of questions, there's about 10 questions that we walk through with a client. And the rating system that we use is 1 to 4. We don't use 1 to 5. We don't want our clients picking a neutral 3. We want them either being above or below the line. And then it gives us an opportunity to drill a little deeper if we hear some things that sound a little concerning to us. And it's worked very, very well. We've been complimented many occasions by our clients. They say this is not common practice that they experience, and they really appreciate it when they're given that opportunity. And we do it at milestone points throughout the project. It really depends on the size of the project. Bigger projects deserve more frequent check-ins, but we certainly don't wait till the end and do a postmortem. That's a bad idea.
Yeah. Who does those? Just out of curiosity, do you have your project managers that work with the client having those conversations and those evaluations as well?
Thanks for asking that, Don. I appreciate it. No, we do not have anybody that worked on the project participate in those surveys. Our marketing director conducts those, and the way it works is we have a regular project manager meeting once a week, and part of the reporting process is we have a column of when the timing is right to conduct one of these surveys, and then our marketing director is notified by the project manager that the timing's right for a particular one. The project manager sends an email or a phone call indicating that we would like to conduct one of these surveys, and with their permission, our marketing director will be contacting them to schedule a time to conduct that survey.
Okay. So how does CE Solutions define who your clients are? I mean, you've done some pretty phenomenal work as evidenced by the screen behind you. However, how do you define who your clients are?
Yeah, our clients are pretty diverse. My adage here in the office is relationship first, opportunity second. And so it takes us a lot of fun places, just through relationships that we develop, either through our volunteer work, service work that we do, or just out and about, networking, attending SMPS events. I really enjoy the panel, discussions, the owner panels, even when they're like at a Build Business conference and they're outside of our normal region of work. We may not ever work with that particular client, but we learn a lot from what they have to say. And it really helps us, in terms of strengthening and finding, client relationships here locally. But because we're focusing on relationship first, opportunity second, a lot of our clients are what we would call collaborators or associate level firms that we would work together on projects one time, and the next time they may have a need for our services directly and they're reaching out to us for a very specialized need or something. But traditionally architects, other engineers, we do a lot of direct work with owners and the community as a whole, including like not-for-profit organizations and other things. It's pretty diverse.
So Steve, you I know you're starting to think about a leadership transition sometime in the near future before you ride off into the sunset. But how are you maintaining the client service culture at CE Solutions as you step into that transition period?
Great question, Barry. We've been thinking a lot about that here in recent time, and we've been working on it for several years. Um, and I'd say I've been fortunate since I've been able to build CE Solutions organically and focused on, this marketing, business development, client service culture since day one. That it's pretty much ingrained in our culture and ingrained in everybody that works here. And so when we identified the next generation of leadership, it was real easy, and because they're all are already executing at a high level. And so we've identified my successor about 3 years ago, and promoted him to vice president and principal. He and I have pretty much worked together our entire careers, other firms, before starting CE Solutions, and he joined us about 17 years ago, and will be our future president here in a few years. And then we promoted 3 other individuals to associates this year. One was my first hire 19 years ago, still with us, and very honored to have her still be part of the firm. And that's one of the other things I'm very proud of, is we have a really strong staff retention rate, which is really, we found, been incredibly valuable to our clients. They notice that, appreciate it, that they're working with the same people every time. And when you talk about client service and longevity or retention in your staff, and they go hand in hand, because you build those really personal relationships with your clients and trust, and you get to know each other so well that it makes it really difficult. I mean, we really have to mess up, for one of our clients to decide to go somewhere else, because they really enjoy working with us. And I will tell you too that one other thing I'm very proud of is I never hear, the comment, we want your A team, or we only want to work with this person or that person. They get the same level of service up and down the ladder, no matter who they're working with in our firm. We're a very flat organization. So, there'll be times when we've got senior people working for a young engineer who's managing a project, because we give our young engineers all the opportunity in the world when they first start with us. I mean, they immediately come in as project managers. They immediately get project assignments, smaller ones. They're still learning, because, we really try to recruit the best and the brightest that have excellent communication skills. They're very well organized. They did well in school. They're incredibly intelligent. The only thing they lack is experience. And so we align them with a mentor, senior engineer, who ultimately has to take ownership of their work too, until they can earn their registration or license, and stamp their own work. But we train them how to calculate a fee, scope a project, review a contract, and all that sort of thing, so that they write their own proposals. They calculate their own fees. We teach them how to do that. We review it, obviously, until they get a rhythm down. But boy, by the time they're ready to take their PE exam, I mean, they are so prepared. And we just have such a great group of young professionals in our office. I'm so proud of. And so, yeah, I mean, we're, in answer to your question, as far as leadership transition goes, I feel really good about where we are, not just today with our first succession, but even our next one. We've got a great pipeline of amazing people.
Yeah, Steve, you bring up a good point on, the employee experience that you guys are providing there has a very direct tie to client experience. And, if you're focusing on that, then, you're gonna see the rewards in the client experience side too. So I'm glad to hear you guys are spending a lot of time there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, the last 6 months, COVID, with the onset of COVID back in the winter, that has impacted a lot of firms, both financially, economically, as well as just workload. And culture has taken a bit of a hit as well. So how has the pandemic impacted your client service culture? And, from your viewpoint, how can a firm protect that idea of client service and that culture during challenging times when we've always relied on those face-to-face interactions, and we're not quite back face-to-face yet?
No, we're a little ways from that yet. I will tell you, this is not the first major challenge like this that we've experienced. For a lot of, I know people probably experienced this as well as us back in 2008, 2009 during the financial crisis. That was a pretty challenging time too. So we learned a lot through that process, and we were very successful and actually grew during that process, if you can imagine that. And that was when we brought on our first marketing director, actually, as our firm was growing, and committed to a significant investment and overhead at a time when, I would say over half of our business dried up overnight. And it was pretty frightening proposition. But I learned a lot through all of that, and I will tell you, we're exercising a lot of the same strategies and as we did back then. A little different, this time around, because with everybody locked down, it's harder to maintain those existing relationships and cultivate those new ones when you don't have in-person experiences. It's just hard to do it virtually, but it's still working. And I will tell you, because we have such a great relationship with collaborators out there as well as owners and clients, that we're getting referrals to our collaborators' clients, which it's just been amazing. And so we, again, just like in 2008, 2009, have been able to not only keep all of our employees, but keep them employed at pre-incident levels of employment. We haven't taken anything away from anybody in the way of benefits, in the way of compensation, in the way of hours, or anything. And I'm very pleased to be able to say that. And I see the light at the end of the tunnel now. I feel like we've been through the worst. I try to cut through all the noise that's going on out there, because there's so much that is just not real. And obviously we're in an election year, which makes it doubly challenging, right? And so a lot of stuff gets politicized, and you have to, I'm not going to say I know all the answers, but I've been in this business for 42 years. And so I've seen a lot, and I read a lot and study a lot. And unfortunately, I subscribe to a couple of things that are unfiltered, non-politicized, and that really helps me kind of feel good about where we're headed. And that's more about the business side of it than really the client service that you're asking me about. But getting back to that real quickly, so it's just, staying in touch with our team. When we were all locked down, we were doing it virtually. And I will tell you, we operate a very flexible work environment, always have. And we have a family culture here, and we have a high level of trust within our team. And so I empower my staff, have from day one, and I trust them dearly. And it's really cool to just watch them in their own way, just personalize their relationships with our clients and take good care of them. They don't have to be told to do it. It's inherent in their DNA too. And so it's all about still just staying in touch with our clients, being committed to continue to deliver on our brand promise. And our brand promise is offering our clients peace of mind, a successful outcome, and a lasting relationship. And those three, key tenets are what's built into our logo. If you look at the CE Solutions logo, you'll see an arch with three bands in it, and they represent those three tenets: peace of mind, successful outcomes, lasting relationships. And what they do is they come together and form an overarching arc that goes into the heart of our company called CE Solutions. And very, very simple, but very powerful, message that I will give kudos to Win More Consulting out there, who helped us with that brand message and that design. And it all came from, almost 2 years of research that we did, and a perception survey that was done by, for our clients. And then also we solicited to client prospects, and how do they know us, and business associates out there, associate level firms, and then our own staff here at CE Solutions. And what basically came out of that was, you're a firm that cares. And when we hire you, We have peace of mind. We know the project's going to get done. It's going to get delivered successfully. You make my life a lot easier. I can go off and do other things knowing the project's in good hands. You communicate well. You keep us informed, every step of the way where the project is. You provide a successful outcome. And then we stay in touch. We don't forget about our clients after the project's over. We have a seller doer mentality here that everybody has responsibility and assignment to own certain relationships and stay in touch with them even when we're not working with them. And just to just check in, see how they're doing, and if there's anything we can help them with. Another term that we use around here is FUBB, F-U-B-B, and it stands for follow up beyond belief. And again, it's just basically under promising and over delivering. It's common sense, but it's not common practice. And I think we just focus on those key things, and we keep reminding ourselves of those things. And I think everything else will take care of itself.
So Steve, it sounds like you guys got things really humming along in terms of client service right now. But if you could hop in the time machine and go back to a time in the past, what would you go back to and change about your client service culture? And then similarly, what has been the biggest challenge in building that client service culture?
Well, we're always learning, right? To think back, I can't think of anything really specifically that I would change about what we're doing as far as our culture. I will tell you what the biggest challenge is, though, is when we get busy, trying to manage your workflow. It's really tricky in this business, right? You feast or famine. And the cool thing is, because we're all relationship oriented, we're out there constantly networking and cultivating and talking, and you never know when opportunities are going to present themselves. And it seems like they come at your busiest. And that, I don't know why that is, but but we seize the moment, right? You've been working on something for 2 years, and then all of a sudden out of the blue, the phone rings and, hey, we got funding and we're ready to go, or something like that, Oh, by the way, now, you've been sitting on this thing for 2 years. We need you to get started like immediately, and we need it by 2 months from now or 6 months from now. Hey, okay. And so we're built to deal with that. But you got to monitor and I always like to staff ourselves so we have some bench strength and some capacity for those things, because like I said, this is not my first rodeo. I've been in this business for 42 years, and I have a total confidence level that what we do, what I just described to you earlier, is working for us. And I don't know where that next project's going to come from, but I know something's going to be there. And I don't know when it's going to happen, but I have confidence it's going to be there because history has shown me that that's the case. And so that's my gut, basically. And that's, you got to take risks, right? When you're in my position, you've got to take calculated, educated risks. And I've done that, and it's paid dividends for us. But I will tell you, get back when we get busy, because we're human and we're not perfect, a long way from it. But we tend to forget about those quadrant 2 activities. Those are the important activities that aren't, quote, pressing and proximate. They're not urgent. They're where we really need to be living. If you're a fan of Stephen Covey or read his book, you'll understand what I'm talking about from quadrant 2 activities. But that's where you want to live, is in that quadrant 2. And it's hard for us to be there. Most of the time we're in quadrant 1, which is crisis management. We're reactive mode. We're constantly just reacting to whatever's happening. And that'll burn you out, over time. And that's just a bad place to be. But a lot of folks that operate that way on a regular basis. And but if we can just stay focused to continue to talk about getting in quadrant 2 and staying there and running our business that way, we're going to be a lot less stress. A lot of people, try to be lean and mean and run thin and be 1-2 people short of what we need just to keep the pressure on, because otherwise people will take as long as they have time available and they won't be as billable and all this. I call BS on all that, because you can run a very successful business and have a healthy, culture and environment for your firm, and be very well rewarded if you just work smart. And we keep things pretty simple. A good close friend of mine and somebody a lot of people know, in this industry, Craig Galati, who built an incredible architectural practice and still working hard in Las Vegas. He and I met each other a year after I started CD Solutions, and we were at the Build Business Conference in Portland. And I saw what he was doing, and I asked him if he'd come and help us a little bit. We were, just getting started. And he shared one thing with us one time. He shared a lot of stuff with us, but one thing I want to highlight was he commented on all businesses kind of operate with 4 basic systems: production, marketing, finance, and HR. If you'll notice, 3 of those 4 aren't billable. They don't directly generate revenue. And so a lot of AE firms focus on, the production, because, they're billable. They're the ones, generating the revenue and paying the bills, right? And everything else is, really necessary evil or unnecessary. And what Craig is saying is, you have to have all 4 of those systems in balance. And when you don't have them in balance, you don't invest in all of them the same way and same amount, give them the right amount of attention, you're going to struggle. You may not know why you're struggling, but you're going to struggle. And so that's resonated with me, and we talk a lot about that. So again, during challenges, as like we're talking about, that's a challenge, is to maintain that discipline and stay focused on all 4 of those systems.
No, that's awesome. And the thing is that as we kind of talked earlier, those lines are blurring between some of those as well. I mean, you see marketing impacted by HR and vice versa in the talent war, or even, finance and data collection and data gathering, which is part of marketing as well. And then the production side of it, because you've got to build those relationships with the client during a project and before a project. To be able to have and to deliver that work. So it's everything having to work together. Well, Steve, I appreciate you joining us today. I mean, this has been fabulous to just kind of sit down and talk with you. You've been a friend and mentor and advocate of mine personally. I think we met at that 98 conference in Hilton Head. But it's a pleasure to sit down and talk with you and let you share your story about your journey for client service and your firm's journey for client service. Obvious you guys have created some raving fans along the way that are willing to help share your story as well. So that's what this is all about, whether they're internally or externally as well. So we appreciate your time. And with this, guys, we will wrap up this conversation, but stay tuned for others coming in the future. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.